All right, Jeremy, we're live. How we doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm great, man. Fantastic. Good to see you. Great to be here. Love what you're doing, man. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you, thank you. It took us a while to kind of get this all organized, but I'm so pleased. It's always good to have someone across the pond. We actually have a larger fan base in the US than the UK. I don't know what's going on there, but it's something like 60% of the US are listening to this podcast. So we're doing something right anyway for you guys.
That's awesome.
Um,
That's awesome.
so this podcast, I mean, we just had a nice little informal chat, just a bit of a catch up, and you were really kind in saying that I can have free reins on you and ask you whatever we want. So, I mean, obviously, our podcast is very much in alignment with yours and your beliefs around optimal self, and mastering you. The whole concept for me, and then this it's always a reminder. My listeners have heard this time and time and time again, but also ultimately my own background is helping people just improve themselves. Now, typically that's through what we call lifestyle transformation, and that's often in the realms of weight loss and fitness. And
Sure.
but from my own journey and my own background, really it comes down to master when the people that really achieve the success, and I know you've coached so many people as well, you probably agree, the people that not just achieve success but sustain it, keep it going, achieve the fulfillment that comes from the success, so it's not just like a external validation thing, that they ultimately do it because they're really working on the whole shebang. It's not just ticking one box, and I achieved that particular fitness goal, or I achieved that particular weight loss goal. They're really working on the whole mind and body. And so I'd love to know, firstly, like, where this all started for you. Like, what was the catapult to just starting the journey, I guess, to start with fitness. I know your background is in sports, so feel free to tell me where it all started.
So yeah, and I agree with everything that you just said. It is the whole package. And I love when you you use the term lifestyle and not, because people get, it's like the exercise or a diet, right? One of my least favorite words on the planet, right? Is because there really is no such thing, right? Like that doesn't work in any level, right? Like you can get some results, but but most of that is not sustainable, because if it's not, just like you said, if it's not fully rounded in your nutrition, then it's not sustainable. You're going to be deficient in areas, and you're never going to run optimally, right? You're never going to be your optimal self. You're never going to be the best version of you. You're just going to be, with the term we use out here is skinny fat, right? Like because they're so worried about the number on the scale, they're not really worried about getting healthy. So I love what you're doing. Thank you. So my journey started, my mom will tell you, from the time I came out of the womb, I told everybody I was going to, I was throwing baseballs and swinging bats, that I was going to be a pro baseball player, and I always say it's cute when you're like 6, 7, and 8, right? When you're like, yeah, I'm going to be a pro baseball player. And they're like, go get them, kid, and then when you get like 15, 16, 17, and they're like, you might want to rethink that. Like you got a plan B, you got a plan C. What about plan D? And
why is that? Why?
Well,
why is that?
Because I think that parents, and I think that the people around you, well, one, I can only tell you my experience is they underestimated my desire and my passion. They underestimated my heart. The ability was easy to see, because I wasn't the fastest kid. I wasn't the biggest kid. I wasn't the strongest kid. I wasn't, you play against these kids at 12, 13 years old, and they're full grown with beards, right? I was the exact opposite. I was the smallest, weakest kid on the team, but I played the game great because I had to. My technique had to be very good. And part of why parents and people is because they want to protect you, right? They want to let you know, like, oh, well, they don't want you to fail, right? Which is the exact opposite of what we should be doing, right? We should be pushing each other. I should be pushing you to fail every day. Fail, because that's the only place you're going to learn. You're not going to learn from success. I tell people all the time, when we were 12, one of my best friends, a big, strong kid, he could make a shitty swing and hit it out of the ballpark, hit a home run because he was so big and so strong, right? And the fences were small, and he could make a very poor technique move and actually get a great result. So what does that teach him? See, for me, I could make a perfect swing and it's barely getting out of the infield, right? I had to be so perfect just to be able to compete and hit a single where these guys are hitting home runs. So the thing is you don't learn from success. You only learn from failure. That's the truth.
Did that motivate you even more though, Jeremy? The fact that people were saying you probably might make it, or maybe you should be looking for B, C, D plans.
Yes and no. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why no first is because throughout my life and still to this day, there are people that don't believe I can achieve certain things. They don't believe that things are possible. That happens to all of us. Every human walking earth today is going to have those naysayers. They're going to have those people, at any level, young kid up to into your adult world. The problem that they didn't realize, there were plenty of people that didn't believe it was possible. I just wasn't one of them. I just didn't. It didn't even bother me whatsoever. And the time it did, and let me give you some context around the other side of that. I had a paradigm shifting moment as a 13-year-old boy. Okay, and playing baseball. My 13-year-old, I never, didn't make all-stars. It wasn't the kid, but our team that year won the championship, and I played really well. It's probably one of the best years that I ever played growing up. As I started to mature a little bit. And our coach was my best friend's dad, who was like a second dad to me, was an amazing man, a very important piece of my life. So I thought, oh my gosh, we won the championship. He's going to be the coach. He gets to pick the last two kids on that team. So they draft the team, right? All the other coaches pick, and then he gets to pick the last two. We won the championship. I played every game, right? I was the little second baseman, shortstop. I was fast, and I thought, there's no way he doesn't pick me, right? This is my year, man. For sure, I'm going to make it. When they announced the team, my name wasn't called, and it hurt. And afterward, in the States, they do like a pizza party, right? Everybody comes over and we go to the pizza parlor and eat pizza. The parents are drinking beers. The kids can play video games and all that. And he was standing off to the side, and I walked over to him and tugged on his shirt, and he looked at me and he said, "Yes, son." And I said, "How come you didn't pick me? How come I didn't make all-stars?" And I mean this, man. I can tell you what he was wearing. I can tell you what I was wearing. I was a 13-year-old boy. I'm 50 years old today. And I could still tell you, I could tell you what it smells like.
You're 50 years old today?
Not today. I am 50. Not my birthday was in April, but yes.
Wow.
I am.
I want some of what you're taking.
Bring it on, man. Bring it on. I'll tell you, I'll give you all the secrets. No. But he stared, and he said, he looked me dead in the eye. And he said, "Because you weren't good enough." And now I know what that sounds like, right? It's like, oh, you're 13. You should never talk to a kid like that, blah, 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 whatever you believe. But here's what I want people to understand is that, yes, it hurt. Yes, I literally walked away, stood over on the side for a little bit when I thought nobody was watching. I ran to the front and I asked the lady to use the phone. "Can you please call my mom? I need to call my mom." And she was like, "Fine, kid, here." She handed the phone and she dialed the number. And I said, "Mom, please come pick me up. Please, 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 please." And she's like, "What is going on? You're supposed to stay the night. It's a sleepover." And I said, "No, please, please. I'm begging you, please." She's like, "Fine, I'm on my way." I didn't even go back in where everyone was. I literally just walked out the front door and sat on the curb until my mom got there. Her car pulled up in front. I jumped in the car. And the moment that happened, it was like this relief, but also like waterworks, right? Crying, like uncontrollably sobbing, like had the whole, and my mom is like, "What is going on? Like, holy, what happened? What happened?" She, parent.
Yeah.
And so I told her, and of course we're pulling out and she stops the car and she parks and she's like going in. She's like, "Oh, bullshit. Like, I'm going in there." And I said, "Please don't. I'm embarrassed. Please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't." And when I tell you there's a paradigm shifting moment in your life, I don't know if my mom knew what she was doing or not. She's an incredible, incredible lady. And she said, "You don't want me to go in there. You don't want," and I said, "Please don't, Mom. I'm embarrassed. Please don't go in there." And she said, "Fine." And it got quiet. And she asked me the greatest question you could ever ask. She said, So what are you going to do about it? What do you want to do? And I say that, and even right this second, like I get this calm that came over me in that car, looking at her. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, because she's getting you to take responsibility for that outcome rather than it just being like, this is who you are. It's like, no,
what are you going to do?
That. Yeah, what are you going to do?
So I said, can we, in the States, we have our massive sporting goods stores was called Big Five at the time, right? They have Dick's and other things now. And so I said, can we go to Big Five? And she looked at me like I was crazy. She literally said back to me, she's like, you don't want to just go get some ice cream, or, you know what I mean? Like the distraction, the easy thing, right? Let's go get a toy at, Target or whatever. Right. I said, can we go to Big Five? She's like, fine. We go over, I walk her in, we go to the baseball section. It's same thing. It's so vivid in my mind, even to this day. It was a yellow sign. It was on sale. It said $19.99. And I pointed up, I said, can I have that? She said, what the hell is that? I said, it's a batting tee, Mom. It's a batting tee. And she's like, that's what you want? All the things that you could have right now. And like a mom, she's like, okay, like this is going to appease you. This $19.99 thing is going to get, okay, fine. So she gets it. I'm telling you this, from that day I went home that day, and I said, I'm going to hit 100 balls every day off of this thing. Every day. As a 13-year-old boy, I started. And every day I went out there, rain or shine. In the rain, I would use tennis balls because they would soak up the water better, right? Oh, and I'd still go out there and I'd still swing and I'd still hit. And I say that but I want people to understand is that it was the next year I didn't make All-Stars either. The next year I barely made the high school team. I sat on the bench. I was a bench warmer. I got more water for the team than I did at bats or playing time, as time goes on, sophomore, junior. By the time I was a senior year, 18 years old, now it's 5 years later, I led the team in hitting. I was the MVP of the team. And I was also an all league player. So I got the patch for the jacket, the only one on our team that year to be first team all league. And I got a scholarship, the only player on that team to get a scholarship to go play baseball after high school.
Wow.
5 years later. So again, if I would have went out there and what we do most of the time in our lives is we give it one good day or 2 days and we expect a result, right? There was no result coming. But again, all I knew is that my purpose of going out there every day was so that I knew that I gave everything that I could in those moments, that I did everything I could to be as good as I can be. And so we talk about the best version of you. I didn't know that as a 15, 16, 18-year-old kid. Let's be clear. But what I did know is I wanted no one to ever tell me I wasn't good enough again. And I was willing to do whatever it took to never have that be said to me again. And again, what I will say, the beauty of all that is that man later, he was one of my mentors all the way till he passed, but about 10 years later from that date, 7 kids from that team that made that 13-year-old all-star team that I didn't make, and him bought a ticket to watch me play baseball on a professional baseball field. And I say that they're all my friends. It wasn't like I wasn't doing it to spite them. I was doing it because it was my dream. It was my goal. And I told him that story that night. We went to dinner that night and I told him that story and he was devastated. He was like, I said, what? I did what to you? No, what? You know what I mean? But I explained to him, I said, no. You were just honest with me, because here's the thing I want people to hear is that there were 10 other teams in that league. There were 120 kids in that league. 15 make the all-star team. So if I was the 16th best kid, I didn't make it. I wasn't good enough because there were 15 kids better than me. But what he didn't say I would never be good at. I just wasn't good enough yet.
Yeah, he did. Right? Did you a favor as well, because if he tried to sugarcoat it and like give you some kind of like excuse to why or whatever, that would have, it would have been different, right?
You know, it would have been worse if he would have put me on that team and I didn't deserve it. Because let's think about this, about my mindset for a second. What I told you in the beginning, I thought I was going to make it because we won the championship, because he was like a dad to me, right? Like I deserved it. No, I didn't. I hadn't put in the work. And you know what, the truth, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't. But I'm going to tell you this, you can't stop. I could go put in the work. The things that I can control were the things like that. I couldn't, the next year, I didn't get chosen again, but the next year I didn't get chosen again. And the next year I didn't get chosen. And before you know it, 5 years later, not only that senior year, I made the All Valley team. I made the team down. Like I was on all these all-star teams. I got to travel the world on a team. Like everything started to change because 5 years of work was put in. I was doing way more than I've, and again, if you're challenged right now, maybe you're not good enough, but you're not good enough yet. That's all it is. It's time and consistency to those actions that are going to get you the result that you want. It's not an overnight success, right? I mean, it's funny how people, even in those days, right, think, oh yeah, he's always been on the team. Yeah, like they don't realize like the levels and the trajectory. But one of those kids that I told you, those 7 kids, he literally said to me that day, we were all at dinner after they came to a game, and we got together after, and he said to me, he said, out of all of us, you were the last person that we would have thought would be here. I said, I know. Thanks for underestimating me. Thank you. Because again, it pushes you. It wasn't jet fuel for me. I wasn't doing anything. It wasn't
doing it to spite people. It was just like, no. There must have been a lot of kind of like key breakthroughs from a mindset standpoint over that course of the 5 years that really, hit home, or I guess things like discipline and you found something in yourself you didn't know that you could have.
For sure. And you know what else is that, a lot of, I say this, in order to have anything that you want, you must sacrifice. And sometimes you have to sacrifice the really, really good to have great. And it's funny because a lot of my friends, the guys, when I would be like, hey, I got to get these swings in, and they would be like, oh my God, again, what? Come on, man, let's go. There's going to be girls at this party, right? When you're in high school or whatever, and I'd be like, I got to get these swings in. And as time goes on, and then all of a sudden you're out playing them, and all of a sudden then all of a sudden they want to join you. Hey, you want to go get some swings in the backyard, right? You want to go do these things. So it's, you see it along the way. But what I always, for me, there was an absolute clarity to what I was doing. It wasn't about the result. It wasn't like, oh, I'm expecting to go out there and go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs today. That wasn't I knew that wasn't going to happen, right? There's nobody that does that. But what I did know is that I was getting stronger. I could see slow progress. There were points, and I knew what the ultimate, at that time, my goal was, I would say professional baseball player, but my true goal was to go to college and play baseball. Like that's what I wanted. I really wanted to go. I really wanted to be a Division I athlete. I watched it on TV. I watched the college World Series growing up. You had a strong kind
of compelling vision towards that outcome. From what
I tell people all the time, I believe purpose is bigger than a goal. When you have a purpose, you'll live it. Goals get they get too far, they get too out. People don't necessarily, when you have a purpose and you know that, and I knew, because think about it this way, when you're clear on something, it's very easy to make a decision. You see, decision fatigue is a real thing, right? You hear the stories of Steve Jobs and these guys that run these massive companies, right? He just wore the same shit every day. Like he had the same, like his outfit had black shirts and jeans, right? He didn't want to have to think about that. He didn't want to have to worry about what am I going to wear today, right? It's decision fatigue. He didn't want to have to worry about where is my toothbrush. Like all that shit is set in stone so that the majority of my time can be spent in the clear action of what I want. When you have decision fatigue, that's when we start to go, or when you're not clear, when you're not 100% on something, even if you're 99%, that 1% environment, people will change your view, will change it. See, I was 100% in those moments because if you can get there, then when the environment dictates that you should go do something else, or you should eat that cheesecake, whatever, you'll be like, no, man, that's not who I am. It's not in alignment with what I want, where I'm going.
Mm.
So I need to do this. This is what I need to do. I'll catch up with you guys later. Or, thank you. I've done enough. Right. It's that kind of purpose and conviction and clarity that will lead you to great decisions. Great decisions become easy because what we know, right and wrong, right? If I put an apple and an apple pie in front of you right now, you know what's better. But the majority of the world, the majority of the time is going to choose the apple pie because it's easier to eat and it tastes better. And I get all the fluffy feel good stuff, right? Like the sugar rush, and they're going to do it. But we know the difference between right and wrong. We know what the right thing to do is. Why do we choose the other? It's because we don't have purpose. We don't have clarity. Now, people don't lack motivation. They lack clarity. Motivation is bullshit. Nobody has motivation. I'm not motivated. Like, I'm very clear on where I want to go and what I want to do. So I get my ass out of bed and I chase it.
Yeah, we had a podcast episode just a few ago on vision. We had a couple of podcasts back to back on vision and purpose, and yeah, we went quite deep on that. And that's actually one of LPT's sort of catchphrases for achieving goals, is what we call purposeful transformation. Because I completely agree with you. Just having a goal, it just isn't enough. I want to lose weight. I want to get in a dress size, or I want to, run a marathon, or whatever it is. What's the ultimate bigger picture purpose behind that's going to really motivate you and get you up in the morning when it's raining and you're going to be going outside. Obviously, as a professional athlete, and also you a CrossFit competitor as well, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. So how long ago was that? Long ago were you competing?
I went to the games in 2013 and 14.
Oh, wow.
Won the deadlift box jump event in 2013. I got introduced to it in 2010, and then we just kind of dabbled around in my buddy's garage, watching YouTube videos, kind of probably how most people start. And then started to notice some differences. I mean, listen, I'm a competitor. I tell people all the time, everything is a competition. Like I'm going to race you to the car. I want to, see how good the laundry can get done. Like everything's a competition. I mean, I love that feeling, and not to beat somebody, but to see how well you can do it. And so CrossFit was like one of those things. I was training and, I was working out with my buddies and those kind of things. And then when they had these little off competitions outside of, like the CrossFit games, and I went and tested myself. And the first time I got my ass kicked, man, I was sore for 3 days. Like, I mean, oh man, it was tough. And I loved it. Yeah. And it won, it led to the next and to the next.
That was the you're not good enough day, right?
Yeah. Right. You're like, well, yes, it truly was. And it's a cool story that they have one out here called the OC Throwdown, Orange County, California. And the first time I went to it, I mean, I wasn't even close. It was like way down in the, like 30th or something. But I loved it. And 11 months later, they did the competition again. And I got super focused, had a coach, got people. We had opened the gym because we needed a bigger place to train. So we were like, we'll just build our own gym. And then if people want to come, that's cool too. Like we weren't doing it, for monetary or for, financial reasons. We just wanted a cool place to work out with our buddies. And so we built that gym, and then we got some coaches. I toured around a little bit, met some people, again, getting mentors, getting people who were smarter than me, better than me, who could fix movement, making sure that I was moving correctly. And exactly 1 year later, 11 months later, I won that competition. And that was kind of the turning point where people started to notice, sponsors started to notice. And so, they started turning it over. And 2 years later, I was in the CrossFit Games. So it was amazing. Let me be honest. Like, I love that. But it was a different time of my life. At that point, I had, when I was playing baseball, I didn't have children. I didn't, it wasn't a full-time husband and dad and all those things. And now I was, right. And so those girls. I have
So
I have two
you were
daughters
juggling being a CrossFit athlete alongside being a dad.
and running a real estate company. I would
Oh
run the real
wow.
estate company I would train before they got up in the morning in my garage, get them ready for school. You know, I was braiding hair. I was cooking, like making lunches. I'd get them off to school. I'd come home, I'd change, and I'd go to the real estate office until the afternoon, pick the girls up from school, and then we'd head to the gym. And then we'd be in the gym all night long. And I say this, like, the biggest moment, right, is winning an event, right? You're number one in the world in that moment. Nobody beat you. You beat every person who attempted it, right? And it's a pretty amazing feeling. But what was more amazing is catching eyes with my daughter in the stands, and she was crying. My mom was crying, and I couldn't stop crying. And it was funny because, you know, at the end, and then, you know, they're coming over, and the ESPN guy's coming over, and he's interviewing you, and he's like, "Hey, I noticed you were really emotional after that one." And I said, well, I said, because I looked up and I saw my daughter, and it dawned on me, and there was a realization there of, you don't get here by yourself. Like, those little girls, when I talk about success and I talk about result, they sacrificed. They would come to the gym with dad, man, and they would do their homework on the gym floor. And I bought them bean bags, and they had pillows and blankets so that they could, you know, they could literally fall asleep, and I'd pick them up and put them in the car, and we'd go home when I was done training. But they sacrificed. They were in there with me. They were part of that journey,
Yeah.
you know? And they said the emotion came from being super grateful and realization that you don't do these things alone. There's a lot of people that have to be part of it, and that have to root for you and pull for you. And man, those two little girls, they rooted for dad as hard as you could root for any human, right? And to have their support was worth every second. And for them to get to share it is what made it real. But that, you know, any other accomplishment is just an accomplishment. I'm on to the next thing, you know, but to be able to share that moment with them was everything.
So what I'd like to get into training a little bit, just on that, you know, what would a typical week look like, you know, when you're training as a full-time athlete for the CrossFit Games, for instance?
So it would be some kind of usually conditioning in the morning, because it's easier to get loose and get ready. So some conditioning. We had hills and stuff. So I would either run hills, you know, do things with weight vests, odd object stuff in the garage, and then, which was probably a good 90 minutes with
I mean, for
down.
people listening, you know, I think most people these days they definitely know CrossFit, the brand. Maybe they don't not everyone, particularly in the UK, realize that you've got CrossFit Games, which is a sport in itself. And
Sure.
You know, and you have no idea what the events are going to be on the day. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, you don't.
So
I mean,
you're
movement
training for
wise,
something
you have
where
a good idea, but you have no idea how they're going to couple them or triple them or what's going to happen. No, you're going in. You're going in blind. So you got to train for everything.
Yeah,
you got to train for everything,
which is cool in a way, isn't it? Because
it was great. I want to be clear though. I want people to understand the sport is completely different than methodology and training for functional fitness to just be a better human and to be able to move better and to be able to have a better life later in life, right? That's a completely, the methodology is great because it's about movement. It's about being functional. It's about, you know, the sport is completely different. It's like going into this. It's like you and I getting our buddies together and going to the park and playing football. Like, that's a different enjoyment than, say, going, you know, getting ready to go play an NFL game against the elite of the elite. Like, that training is different. You and I can go around and throw it, right? Like, same with baseball. You and I could go out there and play some baseball. That's not, you know, and have fun. It's a different animal when you're facing, you know, guys throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour and there's 50,000 people in the stands. It's different. And the sport of CrossFit is the same way, right? The games is truly a sport. It's not how you train regular. It's not how I train today. Let's put it that way. Like, I still do a lot of the same movements, but I don't train the volume that we train then. I don't, you know, today I train for life. And
that was what I was going to ask you with the training. So I mean, how many hours a day would you train?
at least probably 4 to 5 hours, probably a good
Wow.
hour and a half in the morning. And then I'd
Mm.
have like a good 2 hour strength session. And then some kind of, again, some kind of metabolic conditioning, or maybe like some of the gymnastic stuff, muscle, you muscle ups, handstand push-ups, working on
Skill and stuff.
some skill wise things. Yeah. But
So
just,
when
I
you
mean,
combine that with, yeah, having to fit food in and having to fit, like you
and
say, your real estate, I mean, that really is phenomenal to, you must have learned so many lessons through that experience. Obviously winning the game's great, but you know, um, to actually juggle all those things is phenomenal. And then I suppose when you hear people sort of who just maybe work a nine to, you know where I'm going with this, like, I have not got time to
I
go
don't
to the
have time.
gym.
Yeah. I hear
I've
that
not
a lot.
I've not got time to do a 30-40 minute session, and you're running a real estate business, you're training for the CrossFit Games, you're training 4 hours a day, you're being a dad. What do you want to say right now, Jeremy, to those people that haven't got the time?
Oh, you have the time. You don't make the time. There's a difference. There's a difference because, and most of it is just, it's what's important to you. If it's important to anyone on earth right now, walking earth, if there's something that's important to you, you will make time for it. You will. That's all. It's not, there's no secret to this. Everybody wants to know the secret. The secret is simple. It is that there is no secret, and you either make time or you don't. It's the same thing with your
Yeah, and
spouse.
I
It's the same
think
thing with relationships. It's like, you either make the time or you don't.
I
It's that
believe the
simple.
time thing is a little bit like the, just do it, work harder thing. I think there's something in that, and there's definitely, but I also think there is a little bit of lack of education. People don't really understand how much more efficient you can be. Like I posted just a picture in our group, our Facebook group the other day, just of some batch cooking that I did, like just some really, like some chicken thighs and chicken breast and just said, hey, and it was Sunday night. I was like, hey guys, who else is batch cooking tonight? And I got a few. Oh, I wish I had the time to do that. I'm like, well, actually, I was making breakfast for the kids, and I just threw those thighs in the oven whilst making the breakfast.
Yep.
By the time the breakfast had finished, you know, the thighs are cooked. Like
Yep.
magically, it hasn't taken any more time. I've just been a little bit more efficient. And when you start to share like little stories like that, people are like, oh yeah, I guess it's not, and I think the mistake people make is they're putting the time on top of everything else without making any sacrifices currently. So if they're watching 3 hours of TV a night,
Mm-hmm.
But they can't find the 30 minutes to cook a bit of protein,
You,
then
I say it right to them. Well, you have time to be on your phone right now, looking at me wherever you're seeing this. Like, I mean, that you could be doing this the same time you're doing that. Like, you're right. There's so many ways to be efficient. It comes back, I say, to your own importance, clarity, purpose, vision. Like, what do you want? Hey, the great question my mom asked that 13-year-old little boy.
what
What
are some
do
of yours,
you want?
Jeremy? What are some of your top time saving or efficiency hacks, if you've got any?
I would say, well, I'm very compartmentalized. So there might be, 10 things on my list today, right? So I still run a real estate company. I'm actually going to teach a class this afternoon on some sales techniques, but I haven't even looked. I mean, I'm prepared, but I haven't. My focus right now is you. My focus now is you get 100% of me. My hack is this. We call it at Optimal Self, we call it 100 or nothing, because people want some kind of balance, but there's no such thing as balance. None, zero. There's no way, because in order for me to get to the CrossFit Games, that had to be very unbalanced. As far as 24 hours in the day, more were spent there than probably in other areas. It wasn't like I'm going to get 4 hours here, I'm going to get 4 hours there, I'm going to get 4 hours here, I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. That's not how it works. right? What I want people to reframe, and I want them to be able to do, is we reframe that into we thinking, this moment is the most important moment. This moment with you is the most important moment right now. And you get 100% of me. I don't answer my phone. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not doing other things. I'm not checking emails. I'm not doing anything. This is 100%, right? And when this is over, then that next thing will get 100% of me. And then this afternoon, when I'm going to have, lunch with my girlfriend, she's going to get 100% of me. I'm not going to be on the phone. I'm not going to be thinking about, she's going to get 100% of me. And so when again, it's a learned behavior, make no mistake, because we want to do these different things. And
well, we learn how to be distracted, don't we? Particularly these days.
Yes, sir.
So like you say, we have to unlearn, well, not, maybe, I don't know if you can unlearn something, but I definitely think, like you say, you can relearn another way of doing things. And I've definitely tried to work on that over the last few years myself.
Well, I say it like this, and maybe this will help people, is we don't, if the distraction, think of that as a habit, right? Like this happens and I go to, I wake up in the morning and I check my phone, right? Like that is a habit, right? We've created a habit. We don't break the habit. We actually create new ones, because it's a response mechanism, right? That is a response mechanism that I've taught myself so far, right? So people do this all the time. They do it with eating, right? We do all these different things. Smoking, another one, right? People wonder why the patch for a lot of people doesn't work. It's because the lighting of the cigarette, or grabbing that e-cig and having that in their mouth, and the actual puffing and all those things, that's the habit. That we think it's the nicotine. Yes, it is, but we can get the nicotine, but we lose the habit. Now, what do I do? What do I do with my hands? What am I doing? So what I want people to understand is that it's not about breaking habits. It's about creating new ones. So in that case, like for yourself, is like, I just need a new thing to do. I just need to know the thing that's in that. And if it's in, and what I want to do is make it in alignment with where I want to go and who I want to be, because those are things that we can. You're right. We're not going to unlearn it. We're not going to break a habit. We're going to either learn something new, apply it, right? And we're going to create another habit. I think this is very important, and I want to share this with the audience based on our conversation right now, is that another thing is when you look at accolades, right? So you look at my resume and you go, oh, he played professional baseball. He was an all Pac-10 player. He was a Reds and Diamondbacks. Oh my God, CrossFit games. And he won an event. He was #1 in the world. Like, okay, his business did last year we did over $500 million in volume, which is the biggest in the history of our company, right? And so there's really cool accolades. But here's what I want people to understand, is that they say, okay, because you learned all these things through this, but let me be very clear. That guy that was running on and off of baseball fields, that was hitting home runs, or that guy that was jumping on and off of boxes and running around things and winning events, like that guy would get his ass kicked in my life today. He's not good enough. So that's not my glory years. That's not like, oh, I was so great then. I look back and go, that dude, he couldn't even live in my world today. He's not good enough. He's that guy that with the world thought was great. You
haven't settled on those wins. You haven't said, oh, I achieved this.
How many people, let me ask you this. How many people do you talk to all the time that will tell you about, oh, and when I was in high school, and oh man, I used to have a 6-pack. You know what I mean? I used to, they think that that's the best them. It's not. The best me is still yet to come. The impact and the things and who I want to be and how I want to is still yet to come. That guy that you see that accomplished those things, again, he would get his ass kicked sitting in this seat today. He's not good enough. He's not smart enough. He's not compartmentalized enough. I have to constantly be learning, constantly be growing.
What are the character traits, Jeremy? Where does that, what character traits have created that? Is it curiosity? Is it, obviously it's ambition, but what's the deepest like character trait or behind all of that?
That's great. That's a beautiful question. I think I said this I said this to somebody the other day. Asked me a different question, but it's relevant here. Is that he asked me what my superpower was, and I said my superpower is seeing the good in every situation. That's my superpower. So when I'm not good enough in that moment, I can see myself as being good enough because I know that I'm willing, because I know that I can put in the work, and I know that I'm willing to put in the work. So I don't know I don't know the way to describe the characteristic, but I have a firm belief that if there's something that I want, I know that if I put in the time, energy, and effort into it, the real time, energy, and effort, not, I want to have a 6-pack and I had a salad one day instead of, whatever. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying every day that I'm diligent, that I'm learning, that I'm pushing, that I believe anything is possible. I believe that I can achieve it. And so I think that's the characteristic. I also believe that the best is yet to come. That's something that I write it every day. I want people to know that
you basically, like, you really back yourself all the time, believe in yourself, and you're backing yourself to achieve what you want to go for.
Here's why. And I think we talked about this pre-show, but is that there's two sides of belief, right? So let me say this. My mission today, again, away from everything else, baseball, all the things, my mission is to help and inspire people to change behavior through belief and action so they can be the best version of themselves. I write that to myself every single day because that's what gets my ass out of bed. Because I know that there's somebody out there that we can help, that we can inspire to change behavior. The only way you change behavior is through belief and action. What I mean by belief is this. There's two sides of it. When people come to us and they come to you and they say, I want to lose weight, right? I want to lose 50 pounds or whatever that is. Okay. So that's a target. Sure. Great. So you and I, we've been doing this a long time. We can talk about, nutrition. We can set up an exercise plan. We can see how they move. So we know where we can help them. We set it up. All they got to do is get through that door, and we know that we can help them. We can set the plan. So my question to that person is, here's the plan. Here's your goal. Do you believe in the plan? Do you believe that this plan will get you there? And almost 9 out of 10, 99.999% of the time they go, yeah, that will definitely get me there. Yeah, that work, those workouts, that nutrition. Yep. Yes, it will definitely get me there. Okay, great. Now I need to turn the belief coin over for a second because there's two sides to this coin. Do you believe that you are worthy and capable of that goal, of that outcome? Okay. Are you able? Are you worthy? Because see, most of us, we don't believe that we are worthy of the goal. It's not that we don't believe that the goal is possible, because somebody's out there right now proving that it's possible.
So there's an element of fear to achieving the goal in a way.
Sure. Because it makes it easier, right? To not do it is because I'm just not good enough. Or, I've been told I'm not good enough. Sometimes it's ingrained in us. A lot of times those thoughts aren't even ours. They have been told to us from somebody else, and we believed them, and they've sat in there, and we haven't actually opened them up, and we haven't actually uncovered it. And when we uncover that, we go, oh, wow, that was my 6th grade teacher who told me I was stupid because I didn't turn in my work on, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Right.
Yeah. There's people looking for, information that will confirm their bias to it being that way. Like, you know what's
horrible is it's worse today than ever, because your phone is literally the worst thing for that, because it has every single app on there has an algorithm. So it's already going down the roads that you like, that you watch, that you do. Yeah. So now your bias is even more confirmed. And when we didn't have that, you might run into somebody who had a different view. You might run into somebody who could tell you something different. And if you were open, you would listen and go, maybe that's true. That's interesting. I've never heard that before. Now you never hear those sides because the algorithm is just shooting you shit that you like, or that you believe, or that you want. So it's over and over and over and over again. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to us. The algorithm is the worst thing that ever happened to us, to the human mind, because now we don't get outside of our own element. We're literally trapped in it. In the States, it's really bad. I mean, it's polarizing. It's so sad to see, is that, it's so polarizing with red and blue states today out here, just because of that reason, because they're just seeing the same thing over and over and over. And because the algorithm's telling them, because they know what they like, right? You've got to step back and listen. You've got to step back and learn from other people. right? Like,
Mm.
I'm looking at your stuff and I get to learn from you. Like, that's a beautiful thing. Doesn't mean we have to always believe the same things, but man, what a blessing it is that we get a chance to learn from somebody else. I want to stay on this topic for a really brief second. Is when we talk about these goals and ambition, and we talk about these things that like drive people. And in our gym, and I'm sure you do this, we do an assessment with everybody who comes in, right? Make sure they move right, make sure, all that kind of stuff. And we get after their goals. And then we get after, why is that goal important to you? And so we had this lady that came in and we did the assessment. And at the end of every assessment, so whether it's, I want to have a 6-pack, I want to lose 50 pounds, whatever the goal is, we had this lady come in. She was about 100 pounds overweight. She, and she said, in her top thing, what is your number one goal? She said, I want to lose 80 pounds. Okay, fair enough. So we do the whole thing. And at the end, I do this with everybody. And I still do this with coaching clients all over. I say, okay, here, if that's the goal, I want you to see yourself that those 80 pounds are off you. Close your eyes for me. And I want you to see, what is she doing? What is she wearing? Does she have a dress on? Does she have a necklace on or earrings? Is her hair up? Is it down? What perfume does she have on? What shoes is she wearing? Right. And 8 out of 10 people, when they really get into that mode and they see that person or whatever their goal is, right, and they see it and they see themselves achieving it, they see that real reality, it moves them. I mean, so many people, tears just start streaming out of their eyes. Okay. In this case, this lady did not. She opened her eyes and I said, okay, we went through it and she looked like she was in it. She opened her eyes and I said, what were you wearing? She was like, I don't know. There's kind of a green dress that I like, but maybe it was black. And I was like, okay, stop, please. I said, can you see yourself 80 pounds down? She's like, yeah, I mean, I think so. And I said, listen, I don't think this is the right place for you. And she was like, what? I have a credit card. I can pay you. I said, yeah, I don't want to take your money because I don't think I can help you. That's what I mean. I don't think we can help you. And she said, why? I said, because you're going to give me your money and I can charge it and it'll run and I'm sure it'll be good every single month and we'll make money, but you're going to fall off. It doesn't feel that important to you. And she was like, how do you know? She starts getting angry with me, right? How do you know? What are you talking about? Like, and I said, just okay. I'm like, okay. I said, let me ask you this. Is there anything that you've never been able to achieve that you want to achieve? Is there something out there that's just, she goes, you know what? I came here yesterday and I watched and I saw girls out there doing pull-ups. And I came in today to meet with you and, made this appointment and I seen there's girls out there again doing pull-ups. And I said, okay. And she's like, I've never been able to do, excuse my language, a fucking pull-up. I've never been able to do a fucking pull-up. I was always the fat girl in school. I was always the chubby girl, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. She goes on this whole detail, right? And she is getting fired up, man. She's like,
great.
You could see it in her, right?
Yeah.
So you'll love this, right? So I said, okay, great. I said, so tell me more. She goes, I want to do a pull-up. I said, now you'll be part of the program. And we painted a big wall with the chalk paint. I'm sure you guys have this. And so when you leave that room with me, you go over and you grab a piece of chalk and you write your goal on that board, right? You write your name, you write the date, and you write your goal. And she literally wrote on the board to do an F''N pull-up. Okay. But here's what I knew, right? Is that goal. So every day when I saw her, so we did some things. She had some shoulder problems. Her scap didn't articulate correctly. So we worked on some bands. I did a whole program with her that she did prior to working out every day. Every day she came in for a workout, she had to do these shoulder exercises to get her body moving correctly. Yeah. Right. We did some holds, right? So she could hold from the bar, those kind of things. Okay. You get it. Hopefully the people out there understand this, but here's what I want to point to where you can take this to any part of your life is that every day she would come in, I know what her goal is. My coaches knew what everybody's goals were. And we would say, hey, you're in again. You're one day closer to that pull up. You're one day closer. But what I knew when she walked out of there was she was convicted to that. She wanted it. Not only that, but in order for her to do a pull up, she was going to have to lose weight. So there were
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things that she was going to have. The 80 pounds was going to come if she could do a pull-up, right? The 80 pounds meant jack shit to her. Doing a pull-up meant the world to her, something so damn simple. And we try to make this way worse. So like 6-7 months into this, she comes walking in. And by the way, she's down like, man, I want to say 60 pounds probably. She wasn't at her goal yet, but she was she was killing it. And every day I see her like, one day closer, baby. Let's go. You're one day closer. She comes in this night. I was teaching the class. I had a 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock class. They were hour classes. And she comes like skipping. She got a little giddy up to her step that day. And she's big smile on her face. She's like, today's the day. And I'm like, what the hell is today? I'm looking at the date. I'm like, your birthday? What is it? National Cheesecake Day? Like, what are we talking about? She's like, it's pull-up day. I'm doing a pull-up today. I'm like, really? She's like, yep, I'm ready. I've been feeling it. I felt so close this last week. I'm ready to go. My meals have been good. I've been put, she gives me the whole, I said, all right, let's go. I said, I know what the workout is. So I'm like, shit, she's going to be smoked. She's going to be very fatigued after this workout. So I said, I'll tell you what, go get your shoulder stuff done. I want you to come into this sweating. I'm going to get the class warmed up and we're going to make the attempt. Okay. So she does. I'm telling the people in the class, are like, hey, what is she doing? I'm like, she wants to, she knows her goal on the board is a pull up and she wants to make an attempt at it today. Right. And so they're all like, what? Okay, cool. Right. So the class, we get all warmed up. Everybody's ready. She comes walking over, a little bit of sweat. She's moving. She's like, somebody, I don't even know who it was, goes over, turns off the music, right? We have music playing, turns off the music. So it's dead silent in there. Everybody's starting to congregate around the rig, and it's like, it's like stadium seating. Like you see her and she's like, I'm like, all right, you're up. If you want to go for it, go for it. If you don't, we're cool. Let's get on with the class. She's like, no, I got this. She jumps up on that bar, dead hang. And she's like, sets her shoulders right. She gets those lats in. She starts pulling. And at first it looks struggle, right? She starts to get that little tilt, that pull-up tilt that they get.
Yeah.
But she gets about halfway, man. And she just shoots her ass over that bar. I mean, she is up. I mean, I'm talking down to her collarbone, right? Like almost like a chest to bar, right?
All our members listening now, all the ladies are going to be wanting to build it to pull up.
her eyes get big. She falls down. She comes running over. She literally jumps on me. Still to this day, probably the best hug I've ever had in my life. Her legs are around me. Her arms are around me. She's like, oh my God. People are high-fiving. She drops down. And we catch, I'm looking at her and she's crying. I start crying. People in the class are freaking crying. Like everybody, she's like, I get it. She jumps back up. She does like 3 or 4 more. Okay. I tell that story for this is that for 2 reasons. One is, maybe your true goal is it is the goal. Like it is something that we want. It is a result we want, the 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds. Right.
Yeah.
But what is the underlying thing? What is the thing that's going to get you so damn convicted that you're going to show up the day in and day out and day in and day out, month over month over month over month, so that it's possible. Right. And so that's the one thing. The number 2 thing is for everybody else out there, when they ask about how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep doing what you do, is this. That was another one of those moments in my life, paradigm shifting moments. Teach both the classes. Everybody leaves, right? I'm cleaning up, getting the doors locked, doing the business stuff, right? Reconciling the day. Did we sell any shirts? How many new members? Blah, 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 right? How many people did we see today? Same stuff I'm sure you do is, you reconcile the business for the night. And it usually takes me about an hour and a half. And I was on fire still, man. Like I was like burning. I was like feeling it. And I'm a journal guy. So if you've been different conversation, but I think getting it out, seeing it, writing it, all those things. Right. So I stop what I'm doing with the work and I pull out my journal and I'm just writing. And I'm like, and I realized in that moment, the thing that really hit me that I knew, but I hadn't focused on was this. When that same day, the serendipitous moment of this is that day on that board, on that same board, my goal was a 500-pound deadlift and to weigh 181 pounds and do a 500-pound deadlift. And that afternoon was my training session with my guys. And I pulled 500 pounds. It lasted about 12 seconds. We high-fived, chest bunk, bro sesh. Like everybody's like, yeah, dudes being dudes.
Yeah.
I walked over to the board, crossed out 500 and I wrote 550. on the board, right? And I'm on to the next. Hadn't even thought about it since, right? It was an accomplishment, goal, whatever, but I'm on to the next thing for myself. That night sitting there, and I was still very emotional. Like I can almost cry right now telling you the story, because it was that moment that I noticed the difference between accomplishment and fulfillment. And that was true fulfillment for me, helping somebody else achieve and reach their goal. And so in life, Tony Robbins said it best. He said it very, very succinctly. He said, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And so now today, optimal self, the art of becoming the best version of you, helping people look inside, find what's important to them, find the things that they want to do, find how to become the best version of them, not the best version of me, not the best version of you. It's not a life in a box. It's not everybody should do the same shit. It's the exact opposite. Everybody should do what's most important to them. And for me, in that moment, I realized helping people, using the knowledge and the expertise that I've gained and that other people have given me, that it is my absolute duty to turn around and give that back. And so those are the moments, and I hope people understand, look, goals are great, whatever, but purpose is better. Vision is better. That accomplishment is fine, but true fulfillment is what we want. And when you start to do things and help others, man, life changes. Your energy will change, and it'll change forever.
Yeah, and obviously, without sounding biased towards both of us, because we're coaches, is sometimes it really does take a coach to bring that out of you. Like yes, you can try and do that personal development work on your own and go through a list of questions about, and do the whole why times 5 thing. But that was a great story, because people need to feel emotion. That you need to get them into that state of mind, and whether it be angry or upset or whatever, but some form of emotion. Because what's Tony say? Like, emotion drives motion.
Yeah.
And she probably wouldn't have got there without her getting a little bit angry, and without her digging that a little bit deeper and talking about how people made fun of her when she was younger, and that pain is one of the biggest drivers, isn't it, for people?
Sure.
So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're really struggling because you're thinking, well, I've got goals, but I just can't find my purpose. Maybe you just need to talk to someone, and maybe you just need to reach out and help dig that little bit deeper.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I hope everybody knows, make no mistake, I have coaches, multiple. I have a business coach. I have a financial wealth, somebody who helps me with that stuff, like every aspect, even today, as much as training and stuff like that. I love to have somebody else coach me up and train me and put workouts together, so that, again, that's the only way we learn. And learning
is a
big aspect.
Yeah, I find like a lot of business people, maybe sports people, like I can't remember for the last 15 years when I've not had some form of coach or mentor.
Right.
Kind of feel bad sometimes that, if you're not in that sort of world, people tend to not really understand the value of great coaching and mentorship.
I agree. And, it's the other side of it is, it doesn't have to be like, just do it for a short period. Like, give yourself something to angle on. Right. And then keep it going. Cause again, I don't call people to tell them to get out of bed. I'm not holding people, you're accountable when you show up to your coaching session, because there's things that you need to do. But there's a lot of this that we do on our own. And if we can get to that clarity piece, meaning you are absolutely clear on where you want to go, then motivation follows that, right? Like I want people to understand that. And there is a true sense. It's self-determination theory, right? Like motivation. How do we self-determine, right? Those things are competency, autonomy, and relationships. Competency meaning you've got to have skill in what you do. You've got to be completely learning and being competent in what you do. People don't do things a lot of times because they don't know how. They don't know what, right? So competency plays a very big factor in self-determining, but also autonomy, which is simply you have to be responsible for you. And I and one of our slogans here is that the moment you will take responsibility for everything in your life, you unlock the power to have anything in your life.
Nice.
Because again, when you become responsible, right, you unlock your own power. Because a lot of us are in this prison. We've contracted ourselves because we're not taking responsibility for what we have. We're not taking responsibility for our results. Oh, I get it all the time from athletes. It's a coach's fault. Oh, I didn't have this. I didn't have that. It's like, look, I get it. So take responsibility. What could you do different? What could you do? Right. And if you say nothing, then I tell them this isn't the right spot for you. Right. You got to, because you're locking yourself up. But the moment, I'll say it again, the moment you take responsibility for everything in your life, you unlock the power to have anything in your life.
Amazing. I don't think there's many better ways to complete an episode than that line. This has been awesome, Jeremy. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm sure the listeners have as well. So, I'm sure they'd love to find out more about you, or just, hear more of your sort of inspirational stories and words. Where can people find you and find out more about what you have to offer?
So that we're going to make it real easy. You just go to optimalself.today, and all of our socials on there, all of our digital stuff, our YouTube channel, but we also have a private Facebook group, cost you nothing, that you can be part of. We start everybody off with what we call an identity creator course, which is it's just a real simple thing to really start to look into what are you attached to right now, right? There's a lot of people that have this identity crisis. They don't even know they're in it because they've created it for themselves. So we like to help people get out of that realm to really get into there. So again, optimalself.today, please come over. We'd love to have you. If you can always, any of the socials, you can direct message. I answer them. I do have a team of people, but I take a look at all of them, and I want to get to know people, because the beauty of this, me coming on your show, is I got to learn today. So I'm super grateful, man. It was awesome to meet you and to finally get to spend some time together. So I'm super grateful. So thank you.
No, likewise, Jeremy. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much. We'll put those links into the show notes, guys, so you can easily find them. And, if you've enjoyed this episode, as always, please head on over to Apple iTunes, anywhere you can, to just support the show. Give us a 5-star review. Tell the listeners how awesome Jeremy was today on today's podcast, and that would be amazing. Thank you, Jeremy.
Appreciate it, man. Have a great one.